Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I want to take you on a journey back in time to April 26th, 1986, a day etched in history by one of the most catastrophic nuclear accidents the world has ever witnessed, the Chernobyl disaster. Throughout this presentation, we'll delve into the events leading up to the Chernobyl disaster, its immediate aftermath, and the long-term effects it has had on the environment and public health. I gathered this information from the World Nuclear Association, Atomic Archive, Knowledgeable Magazine, and Nuclear Purgatory Commission. Events leading up to Chernobyl. As you can see here, this was Chernobyl before the disaster. Construction and design flaws. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant, located in Ukraine, was plagued by design flaws and inadequate construction standards from its inception. These shortcomings would later contribute to the disaster. Errors and safety violations. On the night of April 25th, 1986, a series of safety tests were conducted at the plant's reactor 4. Despite warnings from engineers about potential risks, ignoring safety protocols, operators proceeded with the test, setting the stage for disaster. We'll explore a detailed timeline of events leading up to the Chernobyl disaster, from the initial safety tests to the fateful explosion and its immediate aftermath. Immediate aftermath of the Chernobyl disaster. As you can see on the right, this is a park that a picture was taken after the explosion, completely destroyed. And this was the reactor 4 that blew up, which the reactor went into the ground, so it is all hollow underneath also. Emergency response efforts. In the aftermath of the explosion, emergency responders bravely rushed to the scene to contaminate the spread of radiation and mitigate further damage. Their heroic efforts saved countless lives and prevented the situation from escalating to an even greater catastrophe. These men knew this was a suicide mission, but still went in to save countless lives without even stopping to think of their own. This group was called the Suicide Squad. It was made up of 3 different individuals: Alexei Ananenko, Valery Besplov, and Boris Baranov, who all lost their lives on that day. Evacuation and exclusion zones. As the extent of the radiation leak becomes apparent, authorities ordered the evacuation of nearby towns and villages, establishing an exclusion zone around the plant to limit exposure to radiation. This evacuation displaced thousands of people and forever changed the lives of those affected to this day. International response. The Chernobyl disaster sent shockwaves across the globe, prompting an international response to assist with contaminant efforts and provide support for the affected communities. Countries worldwide offered aid and expertise to address the unfolding crisis. Long-term consequences of the Chernobyl disaster. As you can see on the left, this was a picture taken in 2015 of the aftermath, and this picture was taken in around 2016 of the wildlife and some of the things that still stand to this day. Environmental impact. The Chernobyl disaster had devastating consequences for the environment, contaminating vast areas with radioactive fallout and disrupting ecosystems for decades to come. The surrounding land remains uninhabitable, and wildlife continues to suffer from the effects of radiation exposure. Health effects. The health effects of the Chernobyl disaster were profound, with thousands of people experiencing radiation-related illnesses, including cancer, thyroid disorders, and even birth defects. The long-term health implications continue to affect communities to this day. Ongoing mitigation efforts. Despite the passage of time, efforts to mitigate the long-term consequences of the Chernobyl disaster are still ongoing. Cleanup and contaminant efforts continue in the exclusion zone while researchers study the lingering effects of radiation exposure on human health and the environment. Today, we've tracked the events leading up to the Chernobyl disaster, examined its immediate aftermath, and discussed the enduring consequences it has had on our world. As we reflect on the lessons learned from Chernobyl, let us remain vigilant in prioritizing safety measures and focusing international cooperation to prevent further nuclear disasters. Thank you for listening.